Hi, so today I'm going to read chapter 12 of The Liberation of Gabriel King. And last time I read, we talked about how Gabe had a dream, kind of like a nightmare almost, where Frida had a situation with Duke's dad, Mr. Evans. So they thought it was maybe a sign. So this is called the Brussels Sprout Sunday, chapter 12. And if you're following along, I'm on page 65. If it was up to me, we might have forgotten all about that list and gone out to play after dinner. But when Frida makes up her mind, it's best to not stand in her way. Soon as the food was cleared off the table and her mama and daddy had gone outside to sit on the back porch and read the newspaper, Frida started making her list. Didn't take very long. I could tell she was taking it real serious, but she wouldn't let me see it. How many things you got? I asked when she folded up her paper. 10, she said. Only 10? But I'm not so sure I'm scared of all of them. Not so sure? How could you not be sure? I had 38 things on my list, and I was scared of every single one of them. No doubts about it. What aren't you sure about, I asked. Frida shrugged. Brussels sprouts? Brussels sprouts, I said. Those aren't scary. Frida shook her head. R2, she said. I might choke to death because they taste so bad. I wondered if she was putting me on. Maybe she was just making stuff up to fill up her list. Your mama made Brussels sprouts for dinner just the other night, and nothing happened, I said, in case Frida had forgotten. But she just shrugged. That's true, she said, but I didn't eat them. When you're not around to eat them for me, I hide them under the other stuff, and if Mama notices, I pretend to cry, and she gives me some other vegetable. We were in Frida's living room, and she was upside down again, only this time she was hanging off the couch. I narrowed my eyes. You're really scared of them, I said. For real? Frida nodded. Yep. She said, ever since I was a little kid. I even had bad dreams about eating Brussels sprouts once. Must have been a sign or a portent. Remember, a portent's like a premonition or an omen, a sign that something could happen. I thought it over. Well, all right. Guess it's as good as anything. We got up and went to the kitchen. There were leftover sprouts in the refrigerator, so I took them out and set them on the table. Want me to heat them up, I asked. Frida shook her head. I can't eat all of them, she told me. How about just one? I wasn't sure that would do it. A person could eat one of anything, even worms. I knew that for certain because Frankie Carmen made me eat a worm on the playground once, and I swallowed it real quick, hardly tasted a thing. How about 3, I said. Frida frowned, but she nodded. I put 3 Brussels sprouts in a bowl and handed her a spoon. She stared, then she sniffed. You think a person can die from choking on miserable food? She asked. Terrence said he read about a man who died eating cabbage. Hated it so much he couldn't swallow, so the cabbage got stuck in his throat. Think that's true? Sounded possible to me. I thought about liver and how every time Mom made me eat it, I had to chew forever. Maybe you shouldn't risk it, I said, getting nervous, but Frida stuck out her chin. Nope, she said, I'm doing it. Frida put a Brussels sprout in her mouth and chewed once, and then she spat it out on the table and stuck out her tongue. I almost choked, she said. I could feel it. Maybe that's what you're really afraid of, I said, choking. Frida nodded, and we stared at the slimy sprout. I sure didn't want Frida to choke to death. You wouldn't choke if they didn't taste so bad, I suggested, and they wouldn't taste so bad with something on them. How about ketchup? Frida wrinkled her nose. Relish? No. Cheese? Mustard? Nope. Chocolate sauce? Frida paused. Maybe, she said, if there were a lot of it and some ice cream too. I opened the freezer. There was a whole tub of vanilla ice cream, so I pulled it out and scooped some in Frida's bowl. Then I got out the chocolate sauce and mixed it all together so the Brussels sprouts were completely covered. Better add some whipped cream, Frida said, so I got that out too and piled some on top. Frida stared at her bowl and then took a bite from the edge where there was only ice cream. Think we ought to cut the Brussels sprouts into smaller pieces, she asked. That way there's less to choke on, I shrugged. Didn't seem like it would make much difference, but I took the knife and fork and cut each Brussels sprout into little pieces. Then I licked all the ice cream off the knife. Better hurry before it melts. Frida loaded her spoon. Gabe, she told me real solemn, if I choke to death, you can have my smiley face picture frame with our class picture in it. Okay, I said. Then Frida closed her eyes and lifted her spoon to her mouth. I knew she had a big chunk of Brussels sprout on there because I could see it through the ice cream. Poor Frida, I thought. I sure was glad I hadn't written down Brussels sprouts. Frida stuck the spoon in her mouth and chewed. I waited for her to spit that mess out, but it didn't happen. Frida opened one eye. She swallowed without choking once. It's not so bad, she said. Put some more chocolate sauce on there. I poured it on so thick it was like chocolate soup, and Frida ate 3 more bites. Hey, she said at last, I think I like this stuff. My eyebrows shot up. Really? Yep, Frida said. She handed me the spoon, and I loaded it up. You got plenty of chocolate sauce. You got to get plenty of chocolate sauce, she warned. That way you hardly taste the Brussels sprouts. Sure enough, Frida was right. That's when Mrs. Wilson came in the kitchen. She stared at all the stuff I had put on the counter, and she shook her head. I don't want to know, Miss Wilson said. I just don't want to know. That's exactly what Mama had said when she saw me streaking about my underwear. I looked at Frida, and her eyes were twinkling something fierce. Gabe, she whispered, it's working. It's really working. I knew she was talking about our plan, even though I didn't want to admit it. For the first time, I wondered if maybe she was right. Maybe we would overcome our fears in time for 5th grade. Okay, that's the end of chapter 12. We'll continue on tomorrow.